Welcome to another Word in Season. Do you remember the times when we could travel the world freely and go to places like Africa? I had the privilege of going a couple of times and loved collecting souvenirs, meeting some of the local people, understanding a little bit about the culture and seeing the incredible animals like in the Okavango Delta and at game parks. Also doing a few of the wild adventurous things. I didn't get too crazy, but I did abseil down an 80-meter cliff face and do the gorge swing. I didn't go whitewater rafting. That was a little bit too adventurous for me, with the names of rapids like Stairway to Heaven, the Devil's Toilet Bowl, Commercial Suicide, and the Washing Machine. It sounded all a little bit too scary for me. But some people, including my brother and some friends, have done the whitewater rafting. And my brother told me about a guy, we'll call him John, who wasn't a part of my brother's group, but he was nearby, and when he was doing his preparations to get ready to go whitewater rafting, he complained a little bit. They were learning how to lean into the different rapids, how to use their oars, how to hold on, and the thing that John found the most difficult was the life jacket. He found it really restrictive and just too tight and didn't give him enough freedom to move. He was complaining about it and wanted to loosen it. And the guides were saying, no, mate, you've got to keep it on tight, because if you fall under the water and get sucked down, then the life jacket is going to wrap itself around you and lift you back up to the surface. Well, that kind of got me thinking about the restrictions that we have. Now, I don't mean COVID restrictions, but God's restrictions, his guidelines or commands, like the 10 Commandments that some of us find really restrictive and a bit uncomfortable, and we don't always want to keep them. Things like keeping the Sabbath holy, not stealing, not coveting somebody else's husband or house or life that they show on Facebook, not committing adultery. Some of those restrictions might be really hard for us to stick to. Well, John found keeping on his life jacket really hard. He wanted to loosen it, and when he was on those lovely placid parts of the Zambezi, he did loosen his life jacket. But when one of those rapids was fierce enough to knock him out of the boat, the life jacket was so loose that it slipped off, and he wasn't able to get back up to the surface to get that breath of air that he needed. And sadly, John lost his life that day on the Zambezi River. Now, I'm not saying that you will physically lose your life for breaking God's rules, but there is a death to our spiritual relationship with God when we choose to ignore him and choose not to do what he's asked us to do. His rules are like his loving arms around us, like a life jacket, there to protect us and to help us, to guide us. In fact, in John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus' words are recorded, and he said, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." Jesus wants to give us life eternal with him, life in abundance, and life that is good and pleasing and enjoyable. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 to 10 in the Good News Bible says, "Be alert, be on your watch. Your enemy, the devil, roams around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Be firm in your faith and resist him." Keep holding on to those restrictions that God has for us, because they are good for us. And it goes on to say, "Because you know that your fellow believers in the world are going through the same kind of sufferings." Sometimes following Jesus is really hard. It's tough to stick at what he wants us to do. But that's what he's asking us. And there are some people that really suffer for God around the world. The Bible says, after you have suffered for a little while, the God of grace, who calls you to share in his eternal glory, that's not just the physical here and now, but eternal glory, in union with Christ, will himself perfect you and give you firmness, strength, and a sure foundation. How good is that image of being sure and steadfast, certain, in a world that is so uncertain? The Contemporary English Version finishes off saying, "God will make you complete complete, steady, strong, and firm, not tossed around by the waves or sucked under. Life with Him is full and such a blessing for us to enjoy. So when you feel like there's some restrictions that you're not quite sure you want to stick to and have there, think of it as God's loving arms around you, His life jacket, there to help you, guide you, to love you, and keep you safe.